Okay. Okay. There's my audience. Okay. And I have my outline and my citations. Okay. Hi, my name is Lori Ritter, and I will be informing you about Theodore Roosevelt for speech 1311. So how many of you have been to a national park? Okay. What many you may not know is that Theodore Roosevelt was instrumental in paving the way for our national park systems as today. So today I will be giving you information on Theodore Roosevelt, President, and his impact on America through the national park system. There are 3 key points that I will discuss today about Theodore Roosevelt. I will start by discussing his background, then I will discuss his term as president, and finally finish by telling you about his impact on the national park system. So let me begin by telling you about Theodore Roosevelt's background. Theodore Roosevelt had many interests, as stated by Julia Oseed in The Power of Zeal. Roosevelt's life story is difficult to summarize, not only because he had so many different careers, but also because he had so much energy, enthusiasm, and stamina in his 60 years that would equal 3 times as many years in virtually any other human. So President Roosevelt was born on October 27, 1858 in New York City. He was born to an affluent family, but was often sickly because of his asthma as a child, and so therefore homeschooled. It was when he was homeschooled that he realized that his love of nature. As he was doing his schoolwork and whatnot at his home in New York, he would often look at the wildlife and the birds and became to love them. He attended Harvard University and graduated with degrees in biology and history. It was there that he met his wife Alice. His first wife Alice. He later married Alice, and they had a child also named Alice. Unfortunately for Roosevelt, his wife Alice and his mother died within 12 hours of each other, and right shortly after baby Alice was born, and it was very difficult for him. So he left baby Alice with his sister and went off to the Badlands in South Dakota. While he was in the Badlands of South Dakota, he got into cattle ranching and became more in tune with nature and decided that it was time to come back a few years later, and he got into politics. He became the elected Assemblyman of New York at age 23. And then after serving governor of New York, he accepted the nomination of vice president on McKinley's ticket. Many people in the GOP were not a fan of Roosevelt's politics because he was for regulation. He established the FDA, as well as food safety and makeup practices, as well as crushing down on trusts, because this was also during the Industrial Revolution when Rockefeller and big businesses were in power. So the GOP thought that they would just put him on the vice president nomination and get him out of their hair. Little did they know that McKinley would be assassinated shortly after the 1901 election, making Roosevelt the youngest president at 42 of the United States. So now I will tell you about his rise as president. According to William N. Tilchin in Diplomacy and Statecraft, the precept of U.S. power is anchored in the recognition of the reality that power is the single most significant factor determining the course of international relations. Thus, a nation needs to be strong militarily in order to defend its inhabitants and uphold its interests. Roosevelt had his politics were considered big stick politics, and that the one with the biggest stick won. And so he was very keen on foreign relations. He was actually the first president to win a Nobel Peace Prize for brokering peace between Japan and Russia. But he also was into expanding the U.S. and its dominance. He was instrumental in creating the Panama Canal. This is him he got on a steam shovel and was very involved in the process of building the Panama Canal, which created a route from the east to the west for trading purposes. He also expanded the national forest from 42 million acres to 172 million acres during his presidency. He was very influenced by John Muir, who was an environmentalist who was an avid lover of nature and instrumental in helping him form the national parks. Muir and Roosevelt went on a camping trip, and that is where he discovered that he wanted to do more to benefit the United States and its lands. So as stated by Carson in T.R. Goes Camping with John Muir, Their encounter turned out to be, as many conservationists have noticed, the most important camping trip in history. After the camping trip, Theodore Roosevelt helped pass several acts of legislation to help with the preservation, most notably the Antiquities Act of 1906, in which the president could designate any federal lands as a national monument. To be considered a national park, it does include an act of Congress. So with the Antiquities Act, it allowed any president to nominate or designate a national monument without the act of Congress. And also during his tenure as president, he doubled the national park system by, there were 5, he increased it to 5 more and added land to Yosemite. So as a conclusion, I just told you about Roosevelt's life. I started by giving you information on his background, then I informed you about his role as president, and then lastly gave you information about the national park system. And Roosevelt had a tremendous impact on the conservation and preservation of America. However, most people, there's John Muir. However, most people remember his many other accomplishments and his legacy. And this is, he's one of the 4 presidents immortalized in Mount Rushmore. Thank you.